Hello, I'm Jennifer, and welcome to the Krewe Japan podcast, a weekly podcast where we take you on audio journeys through Japanese culture.
This time on Krewe of Japan podcast.
Welcome to the podcast. Last fall, Japan Society of New Orleans had the pleasure of sending a delegation for the third time in celebration of the 30th anniversary of the Matsue and New Orleans sister city relationship that became official back in 1994. The goal of the exchange was to build new relationships based on decades of cultural appreciation. The 2024 delegation to represent the city of New Orleans in Matsue was from October 7th to October 16th of 2024. Participants explored the city's many cultural offerings and stayed with local families from Matsue for a unique homestay experience. In today's episode, we'll be joined by two of the exchange participants, Wade Trosclair and Katherine Heller. You'll be able to hear about how they found out about the exchange.
I saw a post on Facebook through Global New Orleans, and so I had not heard of Japan Society before, so that was my introduction to Japan Society as a whole.
Their impressions of Matsue.
It's so calm, being able to go around without all the stress of all the tourists coming back and forth and everything. And I think that because it was a small town and a little bit, out of the way, that you really get to see a new side of Japan.
What it was like to stay with a local Japanese family.
And about an hour later, I wake up and hear this commotion out in the hallway. I hear the doorbell ring, and I'm just like, just go back to sleep. You're at this person's house. Don't think about it. And the next morning, I wake up and the host dad's like, yeah, so Erica's water broke last night. And I was like, wait, what?
And a whole lot more. Not only do these exchanges help keep the sister city relationship alive and thriving, but we also aim to help promote travel to Matsue to anyone who will be traveling in Japan, whether it be a side day trip or an overnight stay or two. We hope you find something in this episode that will pique your curiosity enough to explore the city of Matsue. So, start thinking about your Japan travel itinerary and what you would like to see and do in Matsue. Let's get started.
Finally learning Japanese, but worried you'll end up just mumbling arigato or konnichiwa forever? Don't worry, NewOrleansJapaneseLessons.com has you covered. Classes are led by Romy Sensei, a native Japanese speaker with over 20 years of teaching experience. She's been teaching online since before it was trendy. 2014, baby! Plus, her classes are super small, 6 people max, so you'll actually get to speak and get real feedback, not just sit there quietly wondering if you're butchering the word ramen. Romy Sensei's lived in New Orleans for over 15 years, and personal friends of mine have taken her classes. They seriously rave about how fun, clear, and downright awesome she is. Why keep telling yourself, I'll start learning next week in English, when you could just say it in Japanese and actually follow through with it at the same time? Check out NewOrleansJapaneseLessons.com, that's lessons with an S, and get started today. Are you new to the Krewe? Yokoso! We hope you enjoy this episode. If you like what you hear today, then you'll really love our back catalog of episodes from earlier this season and previous seasons. We've had some incredible guests, like Dr. Kate Kitagawa of JAXA blasting off a conversation on the Japanese space program, influencer Taryn of Mangalila diving into shoujo anime and manga, castle expert William DeLong mapping out Japanese castles, and so much more. After you finish up this episode, hit that subscribe button or follow or whatever it is, and get notified when new episodes come out. Then while you wait for the new episode to drop, play catch up with the Krewe. But before you do any of that, let's dive into today's episode.
Hello, dear listeners. We are back with the Krewe of Japan podcast for a special episode today. I would think so. We are looking to recap the Japan Society of New Orleans Matsue exchange in 2024 that we had back in October. I went on the exchange as the exchange leader. Doug, who is joining me today. Hi, Doug.
Hello.
Doug went on the 2019 exchange, so we all have experience with it, but we have two lovely guests here today from my exchange in the 2024 year. We have Katie Heller. Hi, Katie.
Hi.
And then we have Wade here, who you're not at school, right? You're recording in your room, right?
Yes, I'm at home. Yes.
Yeah. I remember you were saying you were possibly going to record at school, but he is here with us today. So these two have participated with us on the exchange this past October, and they got a chance to visit Matsue. And I want to start off by asking y'all's Japan experience, I guess. What's your interest in Japan, and have you ever been before, and if so, in what capacity?
Okay, I guess I'll go first.
Mhm.
So I'm a teacher, and ever since COVID, I've really loved doing all sorts of teacher travel programs. And even though this wasn't a teacher travel program, thought it was still a very interesting experience, as I'd never been to Japan before. And so when I saw the application, I decided I'll take a shot. The max application age was 35, and I was 35 at the time. So I figured here's my probably one shot to do this. So yeah, it was a great experience. And part of my motivation too, through all my teacher travel programs and things, is trying to show students like the world's not that far away, try to show them these cultures that are maybe like a plane ride away. So it was also part of a broader effort I've done the past few years to bring the world more directly to my students. And I'd also been interested in Japan for some time. One of my grandfathers arrived there shortly after the war, was part of the occupation. So I had some interest in Japan, but I thought this would really be a unique experience, and it was.
Great, thank you.
Awesome.
And then, Katie, what was your experience with Japan?
So my family owns a Kenjutsu dojo that they've had basically all my life. So I always grew up surrounded by Japanese culture in like some capacity. As far as going to Japan, I participated in a student exchange in 2023 for 5 months at Doshisha University in Kyoto. So I had already like lived in Japan for a short amount of time, so I kind of knew sort of what I was getting into. But yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about this dojo. I'm interested.
Yeah, there is really
You're a
cool.
member, stupid.
How did I find out about this program? And it was because Doug would come to the dojo twice a week and be like, hey, you should really apply to this program. I think you'd really enjoy it.
One thing that we were trying to do when we were going through applications and going through advertising this out there, we wanted a very diverse group of people whose experiences were, had experience in Japan or didn't, but had interests, or maybe they work in a field that involves Japan or something like that. So I think that was one of the targeted, and I think the group as a whole reflected that. So there was a lot of people that came through from different walks of life that all had different relationships with Japan in one capacity or another, or very fleeting interests that were just this sparked my interest and I want to apply for whatever reason it may be. So this year's group was definitely bigger than mine. Now, we only had 2 participants my year, and then the coordinator, Samantha. So this year's group was very, in terms of experience, very mixed in how they were touching Japan. That sounds inappropriate. But but different ways of how they everyone
would experience.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer, for saving me. Thank you.
You're welcome. That's what I'm here for.
I was just stumbling on my words. I haven't had my cup of coffee today. I'm working through that right now. So
such a shame.
Yeah, I know, right? So you answered one of the next questions we were going to ask you, Katie, how you heard about the program and how you heard about the exchange, as well as your motivation, really. But Wade, what about you? How did you hear about it?
I saw a post on Facebook through Global New Orleans, and so I had not heard of Japan Society before, so that was my introduction to Japan Society as a whole.
Okay. Yeah, we had a age restriction on the exchange. And it was because we really found, because of how we organized the exchange with the city of Matsue, we really needed participants who had a really good maturity level, because the way that the exchange is, it's very like go, go, go. There's literally like packed schedule. You're living with a family. And as my experience working in a college, I know for a fact some college students would not be able to handle that kind of busyness and that kind of situation living wise. They kind of want their freedom. They want to do what they want to do. So we definitely really needed the maturity level of our participants to be at the right level to handle this exchange. And then also, like Doug said, when we selected participants, we really wanted a diverse group, not only with age range, but like with backgrounds and experiences with Japan. And I know one of our questions was about like, what do you do for a career? But like, we weren't so focused on the career. We just kind of wanted to know, who were we going to bring over there? So like, we had one participant who was an artist, and that's great. We didn't have an artist. She was our only artist. So it's definitely something that we really were conscious about. Obviously, like Doug said, in 19, it was just the three of them. And that's because I feel like in 19, it was kind of a spur of the moment decision that we were going to do the exchange.
It's also a budget reason.
Yeah.
This year we had a little bit more budget, but yeah.
That's why the budget was so low for the 19 one, is because we kind of didn't plan it super duper ahead of time. Whereas this one in 2024, we did plan it really far in advance, and we aggressively like fundraised for the exchange because we wanted to bring a good amount of people to Matsue. And I think we succeeded. I think we had a great exchange program this past year, and I look forward to what Japan Society will do in the future regarding exchanges. And I had a blast organizing it with the city of Matsue and the Japan Society of New Orleans. So I think we had a good experience, guys. But speaking of experience, for you two, I want to know, what was your previous impression of Japan versus what you actually experienced in Matsue, and then how you would describe Matsue. And it's going to be very interesting because listeners, you just heard, Katie has been to Japan before, but in Kyoto, which is highly traveled by tourists. And then Wade has not been to Japan before. So this is going to be a very interesting dynamic here. So first, I'll go with Wade because you've never been to Japan before. So go.
Right. So I arrived just open to anything and everything, complete blank slate. And yeah, when thinking about Japan, I thought about the big cities. And so Matsue was a very different dynamic, very different experience. I could tell from the big cities, having never even been there. Just nice small town, nice people. And I kind of feel almost in a way, it's I can't think of the right word for it, but almost like perhaps my experience in Japanese cities in the future will be spoiled in a way by Matsue. Like, it's so used to the small town life, and I'm going to be like, what is this big city stuff? So I'm interested in going back one day and seeing the big cities, but that was my impression of Matsue. It's almost, just nice little small town, very similar you could see in Europe or back here in New Orleans area. And actually, speaking of the New Orleans connection too, like, it just seemed kind of odd to me. We have, of course, the Lafcadio-Hearn connection, but the more I kind of learned about Matsue's founding, it sounded very similar to the founding of New Orleans, like established as a town, as a some of fortress settlement on a river for strategic reasons. So that was kind of interesting for me as a history teacher to come across that. But yeah, definitely, first impression was this is a very nice Japanese town.
And then Katie, you have the same experience as me. We both pretty much have been stationed in Japan and Kyoto for most of our experience. I've traveled around quite a bit, but that's something that you and I have in common, is that we are used to settling in Kyoto. So I'm interested to find out what your impression of Matsue is versus what you're used to.
Yeah, I would definitely say that, Kyoto definitely has the historical aspect that Matsue has. I mean, all of Japan has like a rich history, but like especially like people kind of know Kyoto for its history. So I kind of was used to being like surrounded by such like rich historical tradition. However, Kyoto has such a large tourist population that you're going to see people that, speak English, and you're going to be surrounded by other tourists and stuff like that, and go to all these like very well-known spots. Whereas Matsue, you can tell that you're not in the big touristy city of Japan. Like, it's so calm, being able to go around without all the stress of all the tourists coming back and forth and everything. And I think that because it was a small town and a little bit, out of the way, that you really get to see a new side of Japan that you wouldn't get to see in the big cities. And like, you're also kind of like able to slow down and really like talk to people and like make more connections, because it's just calmer, I want to say, like, and just they're excited to, meet new people, because some of the other big cities, they're like, oh yeah, we get tourists all the time from all over the world. Whereas like, it was a little bit more special in Matsue.
Yeah, and I understand exactly what you're saying. And I think part of it is because Matsue is, I don't want to say inaccessible, but it's a lot harder to get to. There's no Shinkansen that takes you there. So for your first-time tourists that are going to Japan, they're usually Shinkansening up and down the coast, right? They're going from Tokyo to Kyoto, Hiroshima, blah, 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 and back. Somewhere along that route, that's where they usually stick to. They may deviate a little bit here and there, but you can't really deviate a little bit to get to Matsue. You really have to take a bus, a local train, or a plane. It's not as simply accessible as those other big cities. There is one thing, and I think we mentioned this somewhere in a previous podcast episode. I can't remember, but there is an overnight train from Tokyo to Matsue. It's like one of the few, or if not the only,
Oh, really?
overnight trains still in Japan. So yeah, there is one way to get straight from Tokyo to Matsue. You know, overnight kind of save you some time if you enjoy sleeping on a train, which I don't know if anyone here would ever want to do that. I've done the bus thing, not a fan.
Yeah, it's not fun.
No.
And it's the same thing with the train, except louder.
Yeah. Well, the buses too, you're a lot more cramped and gross. And Wade, you said something too that I remember that feeling of getting off the plane for the first time and everything just kind of like shocking you. And I think everyone wishes they could capture in a bottle, you know, like it's such a cool feeling going to a place you've never been before. And
Exactly.
I'm sure this applies to all the countries you've been to, but getting that feeling and really going through that experience and living it is such a cool thing that you really can't re-engage that feeling a lot of times when you, especially for me, like I go to Japan, like I don't want to say every year, but I do that because I'm going to visit my wife's family and visit them and catch up with some friends here and there. But I'm usually going to the same places over and over and over and over.
Yeah, same.
But when I did the exchange in 2019, though, that was kind of that like lightning in a bottle moment for me as well, because it was a new feeling. I had never been there. It was a place that is so off the path from what I had traveled already that it was a very unique experience. And I think that's something that a lot of people are looking for when they do travel to Japan. And again, it takes a little bit of effort. Maybe you're not going to do it on your first trip, but it's definitely something that I highly recommend when it comes to Matsue.
Yeah, especially if you've already been to Japan once and you're looking to go again and you need to fill your itinerary with things that you've never done before. I think this is a really good one to put on the itinerary because I have the same sentiment, Doug. I literally got off that plane and was like, I've been to Japan several times. You know, I go for work and it's like, I feel so different. Like I got those butterflies again that I got back in 2010 when I first went to Japan. It really felt like a whole new experience. Like I was not mentally prepared for it. I thought I was, and then I got there and I was like, oh, this is really happening. Like we're here. So yeah, no, I definitely have that sentiment. And I think I can kind of relate to Katie as well in the sense of like the difference between Matsue and Kyoto. That yeah, I definitely feel that way as well about their differences. But I also feel like they're both kind of homey to me. They give me a homey feeling. And I don't know if you got that sense in Kyoto. And I guess it just kind of depends on how you experience Kyoto. Because I'm there for an extended amount of time and I'm not really there as a tourist anymore. I'm kind of there for a job and I'm going through the daily life routine of being alive or whatever and doing things over there. Yeah, they both give me the sense of home feeling. So like if you want a good sense of like being a homey kind of feel, I definitely feel like Matsue is a great addition to your itinerary because you're not going to get that in some of the other places that you may want to visit in Japan. It's still going to feel very like standoffish, like you are tourists, you are not a special guest. Whereas I feel like in Matsue, they find tourists as like special.
I felt that Kyoto was very homey. And I don't know if it was because we were there for an extended period of time. Like, I don't know if it was just passing through, you might feel a little bit different. But being in Matsue, I felt like super at home immediately. So I totally get that.
I mean, don't forget, like Matsue's slogan basically is authentic Japan. And so definitely felt
Yeah.
like that was like we're getting the authentic, real Japanese experience in a way. Not that city life isn't authentic in its own way. But yeah, and Katie mentioned earlier, not really feeling like a tourist, and that was like it was all different but familiar and homey feeling. And it wasn't until the host dad brought me to Izumo when I saw groups of tourists, I was like, oh yeah, I'm a tourist here. Like I was like, oh yeah, so that's what is nice about Matsue. Very much.
Ah, damn.
Yeah,
Get these
yeah, all
tourists
these
out of
people,
here.
yeah. Right.
So yeah, Izumo was probably the exception of like, wow, we're like in a tourist destination. But yet again, I mean, like the Izumo Shrine is a tourist destination. It's very popular, very important in the history of Japan to begin with.
Yeah, the time y'all were there was peak Izumo Taisha season.
Yeah.
What
sure.
is it called? Kamiari and Kaminashi, or like it's Kamiari in Izumo, but Kaminashi the rest of the country. It's like no gods in the rest of the world because everyone comes to Izumo for the Congress of the Gods or whatever they call it.
I mean, it was popping that day anyway. I mean, I don't know if you saw it, Wade, but like there was a wedding going on. There was so much going on.
Yeah, I definitely pulled my tourist card out during that visit because I took a picture of the couple, and it wasn't until later when I looked at the pictures that someone was kind of leaning in, basically telling me not to take a picture of the couple. Like, oops. So just making mistakes left and right.
Frickin' Taurus.
Yeah.
Frickin' Taurus. I think they had a wedding when I was there too, back in 2019. It's a hotspot.
It
It's
is.
a
It is.
hotspot for
My
weddings.
host mom was saying that it was very popular for weddings and just like pictures in general.
Yeah. So now that we've kind of touched on like the impressions of Matsue, and I think we're all homies with Matsue, I guess at this point, everyone said they're homie there. Jennifer, since you were the program coordinator,
Yes.
Can you give us like kind of an idea of what the itinerary looked like for the exchange? And then from there, I think we're going to jump over to Katie and Wade to let them give their personal highlights, whether it was something that was specific on the itinerary or maybe something they did outside of the itinerary that really made that experience better for them.
Yeah, the logistics for the exchange, I would say it was probably right after we selected all of our participants and I kind of knew everyone. So, like, I was reading their applications and really kind of getting a sense of everyone's personalities, what they liked about Japan. I communicated with the CIR in Matsue, the coordinator for international relations. And Nicholas was, trying to come up with ideas of like what to put on the itinerary for our exchange participants to do. And I really wanted to emphasize like, yes, we want to go to tourist destinations. We want to see like the important icons of Matsue, like Matsue Castle, the Lacardio Hearn Museum. But then I also told him that I really wanted to do hands-on focus local businesses kind of thing. Anything where we were having relations with locals and interacting with locals. So we visited a bunch of businesses. We got to participate in some of like the activities that they do, such as like the paper making. We also did like a tea ceremony. And then I also took something from you, Doug, because I remember how you told me you loved visiting the high school your year.
I thought you were going to say the sake brewery.
No. No, I was going to say the high school. I mean, I remember you emphasized it quite a bit.
Yeah, it was fun.
So I told Nicholas that we would love to do more of that. And he delivered. I mean, he gave us 2 high schools to visit, which was really awesome because they were both very different. Atmosphere, the students, like everything was so different about the two.
Did you go to the all-girl high school?
Yes.
The one that we went to last time?
Yeah.
Okay. Was the
Yes.
principal the guy that studied at LSU still? Or he maybe rotated out?
I don't remember. I don't know if we got introduced.
Yeah, he pulled out a giant scrapbook. Like, I think he knew we were coming. He planned this all out. He pulled out a giant scrapbook, and it was like pictures of him in like New Orleans and Baton Rouge in like the 1970s and 1980s.
Whoa.
And like all these pictures of like him and his like he like flew in a like little private jet like over the river and like a small plane or whatever, like 3 people in it.
I think he got rotated out because
yeah.
like no one really emphasized like, oh my gosh, you're from New Orleans.
Trust me, you would have found out.
Yeah, I feel like we would have. What was special about the girls' school is that apparently Matsue's first jet was there. Like she teaches there as a ALT, assistant language teacher. So that was kind of special. But then we went to another high school, very much on the outskirts of Matsue. A lot of students had to dorm there because a lot of them weren't even from Matsue. They were like from Kobe and Osaka. And I was like, what are y'all doing here? But yeah, no, the school was very notorious. What was it called, guys? Shonan High School?
Yes, that sounds right.
Shonan High School?
Yeah, I think you're
I think
right.
Shonan High School. At least that's what they called like the
Yep.
Shonan Saints. They're like band people. So, but yeah, that was another interesting high school dynamic because they were like very much into sports. We saw like those big trophies and the memorabilia. They have so many students who went on to be professional athletes in like every sport almost. Wade got to try their esports game. They had like a simulator for like a racing game, and Wade was graciously volunteer for that.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, it was fun. It was cool. I knew nothing about esports gaming, so I'm like, what the hell? I'll jump in. And I crashed.
yeah, you did crash. But pretty much, I just told Nicholas I wanted to focus on those grassroots connections, getting in with the locals and really, talking with them, developing relationships. And I think we definitely accomplished that with going into the businesses, going to the 2 high schools. We even got to meet like a restaurant owner who was a foreigner that was doing some really good things with like vegan food, fusion of like Japanese and, her culture. So it was a really good experience. I thought it was very dynamic. Matsue City Hall did an amazing job. Nicholas did an amazing job keeping it jam-packed with activities for us to do. I think we've done so much. We would be here all day if we had to explain every single thing. But yeah, I mean, guys, what was y'all's favorite thing that was on the itinerary? Katie, you first.
You don't have to pick just one. You can pick 2 or 3.
I can't even pick because I remember it was like the second or third day. And I'm like, what do you mean we have like 5 more days? Like, I feel like I've never done so much in my life. We were hitting everything. And it actually surprised me because I'm like, there's still stuff we didn't do because we were so busy every single day. So I think it's really hard to pick one. I was very interested in the prehistoric Japan, like the founding of Japan and like the Izumo region. And so we saw some of like the most significant shrines in Japanese history, the ones from the Kojiki, like the founding myth of Japan. So I think it was the shrine where the first ever marriage in Japan took place. That was really cool. Like, I think all of those really mythical and historic spots were probably my favorite because, most people don't get to go to these places. Like, they'll hear about it, like in a myth or whatever, but actually being there and being like, oh my gosh, this is where it happened, is like, was very special, I think.
Wade, what was yours?
So as the history teacher and self-confessed history nerd, you would probably expect me to say I'd like something historical, but actually my favorite stuff was in nature. Perhaps top thing was when we went to the little fishing village of Miho, went to the shrine there. I just, went and walked through the village. I walked out to where the older Japanese men were fishing, and just the air was still, the sun was shining. And so in these moments where you just like feel like so at peace with the world and in nature, and it was such a just nice experience. But after that, the host family took me to Izumo, but then also the Hinomisaki area. So we went to a lighthouse, the tallest lighthouse in Japan, walked along the cliffs. We spent the evening watching sunset on Inasa Beach. So the big things were our experiences in nature. But of course, as a history teacher, going to high schools was also a cool experience back to that. Because it's interesting. You go travel, and I've been to other high schools elsewhere. It's like no matter what country you're in, schools always have the similar themes, similar students. So it's interesting to see the compare and contrast with our schools here. And then you mentioned the workshops too. I thought the workshops were really cool. So getting actually to be able to make paper in the traditional way, do some handwriting. I mean, everything itinerary was great. But I especially enjoyed the nature out there for sure.
Yeah, I think my favorites were like just the touristy stuff. I can't get enough of touristy stuff. And I think that's why I like Kyoto a lot. Because like one of my favorite places that we visited was the Geshoji Temple, which was that temple that we went to like hidden within like the little forest area. And they had that giant tortoise that was carved into stone. And Doug, you know how I am about folklore and like just monsters and hauntings and stuff like that. And apparently like there's this whole story in Matsue where there was this huge turtle dragon demon monster that was terrorizing the city of Matsue, and like someone stopped it by putting a stone in its back to seal like the monster away and it wouldn't destroy the city anymore. But like if you were to destroy that stone, the turtle would come back and destroy the city again. So I thought that was just so interesting. I love little stories like that. That's so fun. Like
I'm surprised the tourist hasn't come and knocked off that stone and
don't
just
say that.
unlocked
Don't say
havoc
that.
on
We've
the poor
already
town of
we've already
Matsue.
discussed this. Don't give stupid tourists an idea.
I'm surprised
So
you didn't say the
bad.
castle, Jennifer. I'm honestly surprised you didn't say the castle. Because
I am actually surprised I said I didn't say castle too. I know I always talk about it on the podcast. I love castles. And don't get me wrong, I liked it and I'm glad we went and I'm glad I got to add it to like my checklist of like, okay, I've seen this castle. Yeah, no, I just, the castle is pretty impressive because like of the way it was situated and how like it never experienced war, even though it was meant to experience war. You could really tell it was supposed to experience war because, oh my God, to get up that castle was...
Yeah, you had to go around and around.
I'm not
and
young
around
anymore. But I really like the temples, the shrines, and the gardens. We went to Yushan Garden, which
Yushan's
was
nice, yeah.
so magical. It was magical. That is the adjective I want to give it. It was magical. I've never been to a garden so beautiful. I wish I would have known that we didn't have as much time there, because I literally just wanted to take time to just sit and stare at it, because there was like this observatory where you could like just sit and like view the whole garden, and it was just so pretty. And I can imagine it in every season that it's just gorgeous.
When y'all were there, and this is Yushian, right? Were all
Yeah.
of like the little like plots like kind of filled with all of the flowers already on the water?
No.
I
No?
didn't have that, no.
There was only a few flowers in the water, like in the entrance building.
Yeah,
If you looked out that window, there was like a few flowers in the water, but it wasn't filled all the way. I think they were kind of maybe in the process of filling, because I believe it was going to be filled all the way a few weeks after we left.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But it was still pretty nonetheless. I mean, there were waterfalls. There were just, it was so pretty. So pretty. Then the bridge with the leaves already changing colors almost. Like, it was so pretty.
See, I really enjoyed when I did it, there was 2 events. One was the pleasure boat ride, the Horikawa pleasure boats. I don't know if you guys
We
did
did
it.
that.
I'm sure y'all did.
Yeah.
Did y'all have the guy that sings? He spoke English too, actually, but he was like the tour guide, like the boat driver guy. I don't know what they're called, pilot or whatever.
I mean, my guy sang. I don't know if that's what he's known for.
Yeah, I don't know, but we had 2. So I did it twice. I did it once at night and then once during the day with the group. The nighttime was with my host family. That was really cool. And then we had a live performance. It was a dramatic reading of Kwaidan, like stories from Kwaidan by Lafcadio Hearn. And there was a musician who's like a famous, like he's traveled the world for years and opened for Rolling Stone and all this stuff and like played with them like all over Europe and everything. Cannot remember his name for the life of me right now, but he's from Matsue. So he was there. And then there was a famous actor, Sano Shiro, who did like a dramatic reading of like the stories. And they did this to like these like crazy guitar riffs and all this stuff to tell the story. It was really cool. And they had like all this like lighting and effects on the screen behind them to kind of give it a little bit more. I need more coffee to dip deeper into my vocabulary here, but
an ambiance, an atmosphere.
Yes, it did all that, and they had like captions and everything too, so you can follow along with what they were saying. So it was really, really cool. Again, different itinerary, different people. So
yeah, different people. You had a different CIR than we had.
Yeah,
and the thing that we had was we had the Koizumis at the Lafcadio Hearn Museum with us.
Yep.
They gave us a talk. They, showed us the museum. They showed us the house. Yeah, that's
they're there all the time, actually. Like, because I was talking to Matt Alt a couple weeks ago, and he was in Matsue with his wife Hiroko, and they actually had a private tour set up at the museum and the house, and Shoko was doing the tour. So I was like, oh, tell her we said hi, and then I guess he did. I don't know, but anyway. There's so much. I really can't pinpoint one. Like, I'm kind of like you guys. I can't pinpoint one specific thing because the whole trip, again, it was so new, so fresh. It was so different from what I had been used to doing when I go to Japan that everything was like awesome. And I couldn't pick like one little thing to make.
Yeah, I almost kind of feel bad for tourists because tourists usually take 2 or 3 days at most in one city when they're traveling in Japan. And I feel bad for them because like we had 10 days and we're still like, oh my God, there's still so much more that we could have done. So I kind of feel bad for tourists because like we're telling them, yeah, go to Matsue. And I bet you $10, like if not a day, they're only going to do maybe like 2 or 3 if most. And they're still not going to get the full picture, really.
And I mean, I guess I would be doing a disservice to Matsue by not even mentioning Little Mardi Gras, right? By the fact that they had a Mardi Gras festival while we were there. And
I guess it's because I'm from New Orleans that like I don't give a crap about Mardi Gras. Like I literally leave the city. Like I'm leaving in March. I'm not staying in this city. I'm going to Disney World. Like I don't want to be here. So I literally don't care about it. But I will say the tour. I remember, don't tell Matsue. I do remember though, there were foreigners at the parade. I saw a few in like the audience and they didn't look like they were from like New Orleans or whatever because they were like, oh, what's this? What's this? Like I could hear them like questioning what was going on. So I felt like really happy for them because I was like, oh, they've never seen this. They don't know what it is. So I gave them beads or whatever. And they seemed very happy about it.
You didn't throw the beads, did you?
No, I didn't throw the beads. You know how in Hawaii they like put lays on you? Well, I did that for the beads. I was like, here you go.
Well, I asked that because when we did the parade, when we were there, it was through the kind of like the town, like kind of near the station, kind of walking through the streets.
Yeah, no, ours was just around the castle.
Yeah, we didn't have that, but it was still like walking around the streets, and we had beads and we had the balloons. And, just like, we're like thinking Mardi Gras, Mardi Gras. So we just like throw stuff at people and it was just hitting them. They weren't expecting it. So
yeah, it's definitely
that's why I was
different.
asking, like, did y'all throw? Like, because we figured that out along the way. Like, we're throwing stuff to people and they're like stepping back in fear. Like, why are they throwing and pelting us with like these plastic trinkets? Like, what's going on here? And I'm like, oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
So speaking of that festival and highlights, I can't believe I forgot to mention it, but that day was actually my birthday. And so that morning we had the ceremony, and it was such a cool birthday present gift in a way to like actually have the mayor give us a certificate. I actually have it on my wall over here. It's already framed, but give the certificate, making me an official ambassador of the city. And that whole ceremony was so cool with the Japanese musicians who either lived in New Orleans or live there currently or lived there in the past or visited. And so that whole ceremony was awesome. And then in the afternoon, having the New Orleans Fest and having beignets and gumbo and doing a little second line parade. So that was I told somebody, I was like, this is a very special birthday. Don't tell my mom about that's better than the 9 years of Chuck E. Cheese birthdays.
You should have gotten the mayor to autograph your certificate, personalized, saying like, happy birthday.
Yeah, right.
Well, he was a very busy man.
Sure.
We only saw him for that split moment, and then he was off doing other things that he needed to do. But he was definitely there to present us our certificates. But yeah, it was a very, I don't know, I guess emotional day. I don't know. I felt emotional. I was like, oh, this is like a official thing. Like, we've been doing all these touristy things. We've been doing all the, felt very like group oriented tourist aspect. But then like all of a sudden it was like, wow, all eyes on us. And, we showed our New Orleans spirit. We did a second line. We did our little... So in Japan, they have these hand towels that you use like to dry your hands because there's usually no towels in the public bathrooms. And I had the idea to use it as a handkerchief for the second line. And so I told everyone else to like do it with me. And so then all the other Japanese people and foreigners did it. It was amazing. I loved it. It was very joyous.
You go getter.
Yes, I am.
Look at you. Look at you. Trend setting.
I try. But one of the aspects that we have not touched on in detail yet about the exchange is the homestay. Everyone that participated on the 2024 program, our whole entire stay, besides the first and last day, was a homestay opportunity where we stayed with a Japanese family. So, Wade, Katie, what was that like for y'all? Did y'all see any differences that stood out to you about a Japanese family life that you experienced?
So I've stayed with host families in Germany before, and it was always a cool experience just seeing how different people live. Back when I was in high school, and our high school band did an exchange trip to Germany. And so that's one of the things that very much attracted me to this trip was the opportunity to stay with host families. And so I think we all were a little nervous at first because on the paperwork, it said that their English language level was like English greetings. And so we all thought, oh no, like they're not going to know any English. And so when I first met my host dad, who's I call him host dad, but he's my age. But first met my host dad, I was like, what do I say? How do I talk to him? And he goes, so I've been teaching English for the past 10 years. And I was just like, oh, thank God. Like, the relief that just like washed over me. And everybody's family actually spoke better English than I guess they let on. But, he brings me to their house, and his wife is a Japanese teacher. He's an English teacher. Her English is not as good, but she was very interested in trying to speak some. And they have a 3-year-old boy, a 6-year-old boy, and she was pregnant at the time with a third son who was due in a month. And so they provide dinner that night. We have a good time. And that night, I finally get to sleep. And about an hour later, I wake up and hear this commotion out in the hallway. I hear the doorbell ring. And I'm just like, just go back to sleep. You're at this person's house. Don't think about it. And the next morning, I wake up and the host dad's like, yeah, so Erica's water broke last night. And I was like, wait, what? And so I was like, do you need me to get a hotel? He's like, no, it's okay. Because I was worried he didn't have like single parent with these 2 kids. But yeah, she went to the hospital. I didn't see her the rest of the trip. We just communicated via text message, but she ended up giving birth that Friday via C-section. And the host dad had told me he wanted to bring me to Ismo on Saturday. And I was like, do you not want to like be with your wife in the hospital? Like, are they after? He's like, no, it's okay. It's a lot of regulations. So, I mean, they were just so accommodating. And, being a teacher, I know that there's, this thing called teacher tired, plus he has the two kids. And so I was very grateful for him still welcoming his home and bringing me to Ismo and showing me around, do all sorts of stuff. And so it's a really interesting homestay experience for sure.
That's insane.
But the baby's doing fine now. They're all back home. Everybody's great.
Everyone's great.
Yeah, sorry, and I forgot, one of the running jokes was, would they name the baby after me? So my Japanese name is Wado, so they didn't, which is fine. I didn't lobby for it, but I became known as Uncle Wade at least. So it's nice to be an uncle, Japanese uncle.
So Katie, did you have any babies born during your homestay?
No, not as exciting. But I had never done a homestay before. And oh my gosh, I was so nervous. I remember, Jennifer, were we the last two to get picked up? Or
I think
towards
so.
the end, because I remember us both being like, oh my gosh, this is scary. But I know you can relate to this because I know you mentioned it when talking about the host families. But in Japan, I was by myself, so I set my own pace. I was responsible for myself. I was responsible for my own meals, like getting around. And then you kind of had to not, I don't want to say give up that because it's not like it was a bad thing, but you were under the care of somebody else that you've never met before and you're entered in their home. And like, I was just so blown away by how accommodating they were because my host mom was a truck driver for Lawson, like the convenience stores. And she was a single mom, 2 kids, and she took off an entire week just to host me. Like she took off of work just for me. And actually, as far as like the family dynamic, her son was really scared of me. He was 13 years old. So, he kind of was like, why is this strange foreign woman in my house? Like, what's going on? So I didn't mind. So, but I kind of like didn't want to push him, out of his comfort zone. And the girl who was 17 was actually in Okinawa on her school field trip. So I didn't meet her till Friday. So it was just me and the mom for like a whole 4 or 5 days. And I wasn't as fortunate with her speaking fluent English. So I'm doing my best trying to communicate, pulling out that rusty Japanese, But I think the most special thing that I did with her was I remember it was Thursday. It was the day of the Suitori festival. And I wanted to go, but I was like, oh, I'm not going to push it, whatever. Like, if we go, we go. I'm not going to ask her to go out of her way. She's doing so much for me. But we finished our activities for that day. She picked me up, and the night before I mentioned that my family had a dojo, and I said, yeah, I do, because it doesn't really translate what we do in Japanese, like ours is a little different, but I said, yeah, I do iaido, and she was like, oh my gosh, I used to do judo when I was younger, and I used to always see the iaido people across the gym from us practicing, and I always thought it was so cool, and I was like, yeah, here's some videos and everything, but that day she picked me up, and she said, hey, do you want to go to the Budokan, which is like where they do all the martial arts in this one area? Do you want to go and sit through on a practice? Like I told them that you were here and they were like, yeah, come if you want. And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah. So I got to watch a group from the other side of the planet doing what I do like 2-3 times a week. I was like, oh my gosh, it is real. Like I was like, wow, this is so amazing that like I had this connection.
Your dad was so jealous, by the way.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's right. I loved rubbing that in his face. But it was so nice to make that connection. Even when I didn't have like the language skills to back it up, I was able to still make these connections. And then she was so tired. Like we had stayed out all day and she saw the taiko drumming at the Suitori festival. And was like, do you want to go? And at that point, it was like 9:30 at night. Like, it was late. And I was like, yeah, sure, if you're okay. And so she's like, yeah, let's go. And then we, like, partied at the castle grounds. And then we got home at, like, I don't know, 11 o'clock at night. And she's like, okay, now I'm going to make you dinner and run you a bath and make you dessert. And I was like, oh, my gosh, please, I'm never going to be able to repay you for all of this. But it was amazing just being completely welcomed into this family's life, like a total stranger. It was crazy.
That's awesome. I'm jealous of the dojo stuff. Like, that sounds so cool to be able to go to that. I've done some like martial arts in Japan too, as a part of like kendo, or I did like chambara tournaments and stuff here and there. But yeah, they actually like just happened to go to Iaido. That's the one thing I haven't seen or done. So I'm
Yeah,
jealous.
it happened to be that day. Like they only had it once a week.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, this is gonna be so awesome. And it was so cool. I was like, oh my gosh, not to get off topic, but like our style is like slightly different where they have like 10 katas and we have 8. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is where this is different. This is where this is the same. It was cool. It was really cool.
I'm glad y'all had good experience with the host families. That was an experience that I've never experienced before either. And like Katie said, we kind of have the same impression. Like when we're in Japan, we're kind of fending for ourselves. So it was definitely like I had to, and I remember y'all thought it was crazy. Because when the day ended, I'd be like, okay, we're all waiting for our moms to pick us up. Because, we almost had to be like kids again because these people were like trying to take care of us and we couldn't be independent as we would like to be. And some of us almost acted like kind of like supporters for the family, like that had like young kids. Myself and another participant, Matt, our host families were friends. And so we would help with like the kids and stuff when, we saw like the moms were struggling or the parents were struggling.
They got y'all to be babysitters.
Yeah. But no, seriously, the host families were so accommodating. I don't know. Do y'all talk to y'all's host family still?
Yeah, I just actually texted with him the other day. Sent him some
Nice.
pictures of some postcards I'd framed that we went to the History Museum to get. So yeah, we still keep in touch. Report back to one another. Yep.
Yeah,
I still line.
Yeah, I lined my host mom a few days ago. Actually, so Doug, I went to the Pels game. I think it was, what was it, the day before Christmas? No, not the day before Christmas Eve, maybe the day after, before that.
Yesterday? Oh, Sunday?
No. Yeah, Sunday. I went to the Pels game and my host mom texted me and was like, hey, and she's like, how are you doing? And I said, oh, well, I'm at the Pelicans game, and I took a picture and I showed her. Then I was like, and we're also getting ready for Christmas, and I showed her a picture of like a Christmas picture of like Reina or whatever, and she was like, oh, that's great. Yeah, they're waiting for Santa-san too. Her kids. And yeah, very special.
Yeah, I kind of lost touch with my host family. I think I have them still online, but we lined a little bit here and there. But I guess it's like, I don't know. You just sometimes it was like right before the pandemic too, right? Like you have like so much stuff going on.
It's hard. I find it's really hard to keep in touch. I rented a house in Kyoto this past summer, and it was with a family, and they had a daughter my age. We hung out on the weekend. She took me to places. We ate together. I slept over at their house on a weekend. I was really close with this family. At least I thought I was. I tried to text her. She delayed text me like 2 months later. I even sent her like a little Merry Christmas card. Haven't heard anything from her. So it's just really hard to like keep connections, I find, in Japan. So with my host mom, like I'm really trying really hard to like keep communicating, and she seems to really want to communicate with me as well. And I think it's the fact that we talked about deeper stuff, not as superficial. So like with the daughter of the people I rented from, we talked about like music that we liked and our hobbies, superficial stuff. Whereas my host mom, we talked about birthing children, taking care of children, and how we met our husbands and what life was like, and more meaningful conversations, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think that really helped create that relationship for my host mom and I, to where I feel like she's more like gravitated towards me, which makes the communication much easier for the both of us. It's not just like a one-sided thing where it is for me with this other person. So
yep. No, that makes sense. I have plenty of relationships where that's happened, and it's just the nature of whatever. And we're getting like a personal like relationship podcast here. What's going on? But no, that's what host families are, though. I mean, you get to live with these people that invite you into their home, and sometimes you grow a deep bond with them. Sometimes, it's fleeting, and it's like once a week you're done and say sayonara, and you move on with your life. They move on with theirs, and that is what it is. It happened. I did a homestay back in the beginning of Jet. We did a weekend homestay, and the same thing happened. Whereas, like, you go and you're only there for 2 nights, or I think it was 2 nights, maybe it was 1. But you don't establish a deep relationship. But also, when I did the 2019 exchange, we were only there for 3 nights with a host family. And then we had hotels for the other ones. So we didn't do the full-time homestay. So we had a very a much shorter period of time when we shared those experiences with the family. And we were, for the most part, except for one day, we were always out of the house pretty much from early morning until evening. So yeah, it was, and I still wonder what they're doing and stuff. But yeah, it's kind of, it is what it is. Anyway, one thing I did want to ask you guys too, though, is going into the exchange, one of the big topics that we talked about in interviews and we asked on the application was strengthening the bonds between the two cities of, Matsue and New Orleans. So having gone on that exchange, how do you feel you accomplished that strengthening of the bonds? I mean, this could be at any level, it could be at the personal level or at a more ambassadorial level.
Well, I think a big part of it's just raising awareness that we even have a sister city. So I had to explain a lot of people to my students, for example, what a sister city is, and then explain the connection to Matsue. As far as paying forward things and strengthen the bonds, I did a presentation on Matsue and our trip there during our lunch period, had 30 plus students show up. Along with that, just on my travel Instagram account for students, I was able to help, share what we're experiencing in Japan with them, because every year I do a survey of students at the beginning of the year, asking them, if I gave you money to go anywhere in the world, where would you want to go to? And Japan's always one of the top 3 countries. And so there's a lot of interest in Japan among our students. And so, helping them show Matsue, Japanese life, I've been enjoying that sort of ambassadorial role, perhaps, as a goodwill ambassador of Matsue officially, So yeah, so
got the certificate to back it up.
Right. And then I incorporated here back in different areas of my class. So we're about to actually get to Japan more next semester. So I hope to bring in, what we experienced there a little bit.
One thing I want to ask you though, before we jump over to Katie, how about during the exchange? How do you feel like when you were on the exchange, like in Matsue, in what way did you feel you accomplished strengthening that bond? How did you develop or make that relationship between the two cities better? I mean, we've kind of touched on little things here and there, but yeah, specifically in that regard.
I think our presence brought awareness, and that awareness brings interest. And so with my host dad, for example, he loved the Japanese jazz band that played at our ceremony, and he's really interested in visiting New Orleans one day. And I have to point to him, where it is on a map and that kind of stuff. So I think us being there, especially 5 years after y'all went in 19, especially post COVID, just our presence just helped bring awareness to things, into New Orleans, into our relationship. Just being at the New Orleans festival, for example, and talking to people and be able to say oh yeah, these beignets are very much like we have at home. So I think again, our presence there, just that alone just helped further the bond.
Yeah, awesome. What about you, Katie?
I think we did a really good job of accomplishing the goal of really setting those grassroots connections, and really interacting with local businesses and local people and everything. I remember when we were going through the selection process and I said that I was yeah, I really want to treat this like work, go in with a goal and actually try and help facilitate a cultural exchange. And I think the exchange part, as far as talking about, this is how I do these things, and this is what I do every day. And then especially the host families saying, oh, well, we do it kind of like this. I knew New Orleans is pretty famous worldwide for, especially for the history and the jazz and everything. But not a lot of people, especially Japanese people, when they go to America, stop by New Orleans. So being able to talk about how life in New Orleans is different from anywhere else in the world, and kind of comparing that with Matsue, because, most tourists don't end up in Matsue. So both exchanging these unique perspectives on how we live, I think was the strongest connection building that we did. Like Wade said, that there was the part that was in Matsue, and then there's also the part bringing back our experiences. And just telling people that there's this amazing city that we're actually sister cities with that you probably never heard of. And just, bringing awareness to the relationship, I think is really, really important.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I never heard of Matsue until the first exchange that they had people from Matsue in 2014, I think. Yeah, 2014, that came to New Orleans as part of the Tomodachi exchange. They came here, and that was the first time I'd heard of Matsue. Prior to that, I didn't even know what it was.
Same.
And there was the exchange that followed. I think, was it the following year? I can't remember.
Yeah, the
what
following
year
year they went over there.
Right. And then, I wasn't super involved with Japan Society to the extent I am now at that point in time. I helped volunteer when they had people come here and help book dinner reservations and help with the tours and stuff and kind of show up and assist where needed. But yeah, it was a place I never heard of. And I think that's something that is really good, especially now with social media and with the ability to broadcast out these experiences on a personal level to your friends and to your family. That is, like you said, the grassroots level exchange that I think really helps perpetuate this relationship, helps like grow it even more than, oh, this mayor came to the New Orleans and they handed business cards to each other. That doesn't do anything. I guess politics, it's good, right? But for the cities, it doesn't do anything in terms of like their awareness. And I think that what you guys did is incredible and really helps build that relationship further.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know, I think maybe every host family was like this at the end. Matt and I's family was like, oh, we want to come visit New Orleans at the same time. What would be a good age for kids to come? Because they both have 2 small babies. And Matt and I were like, oh, we think, 2 would be good. Like, wait until they're 2, and I think they'll have fun in New Orleans. So I think they're going to plan a trip, both families together, to come to New Orleans at one point.
That's cool.
And that's very exciting. And I'm like almost very nervous too, because especially Matt's family is a big family. So I'm like, okay, I will plan it, but like, whew, I'm nervous. So
might want to wait for the exchange rate to get a little bit better for them first.
Yeah.
Those flight prices aren't nice.
Yeah. That actually reminded me about how we were building connections. But there's already such strong connections between New Orleans and Matsue already existing. Like, I know a lot of the people we saw on the exchange had accepted other people from previous exchanges and knew of Japan Society and everything. And it was like reigniting those friendships and everything. But I really think that if you go to Matsue and you say you're from New Orleans, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, like, of course, welcome. Like, there's already such a strong connection existing. And I think it's really about like just growing it.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
it's already really strong.
It is. I feel like if you were to reach out to the city of Matsue before your trip and you said, hi, I'm from New Orleans, I'm coming to Matsue, they are going to treat you like queen and kings. Like, you're going to be a superstar to them.
And one thing I'll say though, I think it is, I don't say one-sided, but I don't know if you called coming from Matsue saying, hey, I'm coming to New Orleans to the city, I don't think they'd be like, cool.
But I think that's just the attitude of New Orleans. I feel like we're so unimpressed by things, like as a people down here. I feel like we're so unimpressed by things because life here is just so wacky anyway.
Yeah, but I think it's also just that there's a little bit more pride. Japan takes a lot of pride in sister city relationships, I think. And
I think so. Japan does.
When I was in Iwaki on Jet, they had, I think, a couple sister cities. One was in New Zealand and another, I forget what the other one was, but they visited every year basically. And they did like cultural exchanges stuff. They really promoted those kind of things. Whereas we do have sister city relationships with a lot of cities actually. But if you had to look them up, I didn't even know. Like, we don't really hear about it. You don't talk about it.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that on the New Orleans side, and I think we talked about this at the annual meeting, that's something that we're working to improve on our side. And Japan Society plays a big role in that. So I'm glad that, again, it starts with us kind of, and it's a good start.
If it's not us, it's reliant upon the city, and that's not their priority.
Right.
So it is on us to like really promote the sister city relationship.
What were you going to say, Katie? Sorry.
No, I was going to say the exact same thing. I was like, it's definitely, if you're Japanese coming to New Orleans, maybe don't reach out to the city, because if you reach out to Japan Society, we'll be like, oh my God, yeah,
right.
Over. Like,
yeah, no, Mike will be very gushing.
I think that's,
like, okay,
and a
that's
lot
nice,
of times we've had that. We've had people reach out, or even other organizations reach out to us on those folks' behalf. And say, hey, can you assist with this? And if it's not us, we have a network of other people we can tap into to help provide whatever support is needed. So if you're listening out there and you're in Japan and you're coming to New Orleans, hit us up. Katie said you could stay at our house, or Wade, you could stay at his house. So, wherever. Jennifer's house too. Jennifer,
I
right?
don't know. My house is a little crazy.
You don't want to stay at my house. We got 4 wild animals, human and dogs. So those are the inside ones. Outside, we got like more cats. Don't come here. You don't want to come here. All right. Well, hey guys, we've kind of kept everyone for way longer than we planned on it. I apologize, but It's really fun talking about these experiences and what each of us got out of the Matsue exchange. Now, obviously, I didn't go this year. I couldn't. I wish I could have. But, hearing your stories, it really makes me want to go back more. And so hopefully next time when there is an exchange program, I don't know when that will be, but, I look forward to that opportunity. So before we wrap it all up, any closing remarks, last statements from anybody? Do you want to do a round table? Starting with Jennifer.
Just I understand Wade like getting with his connections with his school, and I'm actually trying to do the same thing. I have plans to set up a kind of like a orientation for my students about traveling within Japan, because during the trip that's kind of their thing. They're trying to do all the Instagram, TikTok things that they see, and I'm going to try to pull them back in over here and be like, listen, that's great over there, but like look at this thing over here. And I'm going to try to touch on Matsue for that presentation and just be like, listen, if you're looking to like travel, but you want like something different out of the scope, maybe try this. So yeah, I'm still trying to do my part. I'm gonna try and be a good ambassador and keep up connections. As busy as I am, I want to really, really try.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Katie.
Yeah, I think I would say that the whole experience just completely blew me away. And I just don't think I'll ever be able to like repay the city of Matsue for like their hospitality, because they had just bent over backwards for us. I remember when it was like, later in the trip, and I'm like, oh my gosh, these people must be so tired of us. But I really would, I love talking about it to anyone here, and about like, I know it's out of the way, and I know it's not like the, like Instagrammable viral location,
It
but
totally
I
could be,
think it's
though.
just such a special, and that's what I'm saying.
could.
There's so much potential.
If there
like
was,
everyone should take a picture with the turtle dragon.
yeah, I mean, if there was someone who was really good at Instagram or YouTube or something like that, I mean, I think you could do so much with Matsue and its attractions and its city. Like, it is truly Instagrammable. Like, I remember I said this at the annual meeting. I felt like I was in Japan for the first time again. And I know this because I was taking pictures of random stuff that I normally would not take pictures of. But I was like, ooh, this here. Like, I was taking so many pictures of random things that I would not take pictures of normally when I'm in like Kyoto. But like in Matsue, I was like, oh my God, this flower. Oh my God, this sign. Like, I was just, I don't know. I was blown away. So I think it's very much possible that Matsue could be on the map if they had assistance marketing it.
Well, I think that especially maybe if you want to stand out with your trip to Japan and not have the same pictures that everyone has, Matsue is going to give you a lot of opportunities to be like, have some really unique stories to tell and like pictures to show people.
For sure.
Wade, closing remarks.
How do we get through this entire conversation and not mention the Fogle Park with the penguins once?
Okay, listen, I was about to just, okay, so no, we're laughing, but I was literally just about to, because I looked at Katie and I was like, I haven't made the penguin love sign yet, but don't worry, I'm going to. It's on a mission.
Oh my gosh,
I'm on the mission
please.
to do my fan signs for the penguin, especially for Minto, because he was my favorite.
Your special connection with him.
I do. It was so great.
I didn't get to go to the park and see the penguins, so I'm really jealous.
It was such a great experience. Wade and I were like loving it. It was a very good moment for us. We love those penguins.
I was pretty pumped to see the penguins for sure. Oh yeah.
I was pumped to see the penguins too.
Yeah,
I was
cool.
starstruck because seriously. Okay, so Doug, remember how you were saying that you knew about Matsue back in 2014 with the Tomodachi program?
Yeah.
Same for me. And when I heard about Matsue, I decided to start Googling and figuring out what Matsue is and where. And that's when I discovered the penguins, the Matsue penguins, and how they parade in their little outfits. And they're so cute. I have been following them for years. And I finally got to see them in their Halloween outfits. And oh my God, I died. It was great. It was a great time.
But I guess on a more serious note, I think one of the things we really struck at was there are a number of things to do in Matsue, that it's definitely a place off the beaten path. And so it's a unique experience for anyone But, it's definitely a unique experience for all of us. And especially for someone like me who never been to Japan before, that was just a really great overall time. And I'm so grateful for Japan Society and everyone involved in making that a reality and be able to experience, as they call it, quote unquote, authentic Japan. So yeah, I'm proud to be a goodwill ambassador of Matsue to keep promoting the great city and the people there and maintaining the connection still with New Orleans and that relationship. So yeah.
So yeah, well, thank you guys for joining us today. I know it was kind of a last second idea and we forgot to send out the questions in advance, and
it's after the holidays. We're not in the groove yet, but we're getting there.
We need to. Oh my God, do we need to? Anyway, that could be a whole nother episode just talking about what we need to do. So we will try to cap it here.
Yeah, but thank y'all for coming on. Thank y'all for sharing y'all's experience and your stories. I'm glad that y'all were able to join me and kind of reminisce, because I know sometimes we like to let the dust settle before we come back to the experience. So I'm glad we kind of got to really soak it in, process it, and then now get to share it again. And I hope we get to continue to share our experiences. And probably we're going to have people that are going to say oh my God, we've heard this several times. Shut up. I've been getting that a lot lately. And I'm just oh, did I already say that story? Whoops.
That happened last night. I was at the Pels game with a friend, and I started telling him the host mom giving birth story, and he's like, "Yeah, you told me that one already." I was like, "Oh, honestly,
Wade, let's be real here. That story is way better than the Pelicans game. Let's just be honest. They're probably down 30 points, so you're good. Your friend was probably begging for that story one more time after you finish.
But yeah, thank y'all for having us on.
Well, thanks for coming, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I love talking about it.
Yeah, well, we'll have to do this again, come up with different questions, so that way you can talk about it more without repeating ourselves. So,
just on the Penguins next time.
Just the Penguins.
Yeah, Penguin episode.
Penguins only. All right, thank y'all.
And that's a wrap. A big thank you to Wade and Katherine for joining us and sharing their exchange experience in Matsue with us. We hope you enjoyed hearing about Matsue, from the local people we encountered during the exchange to the places we explored. There's still so much of Matsue that we didn't get to see during the exchange, so you bet I'll be making a stop in Matsue the next time I'm in Japan. Hopefully, you'll now want to go to Matsue too. And of course, thank you, our amazing listeners. Whether you are new to the crew or you've been with us since the beginning, we're excited to have you along for the ride. If you enjoyed this episode, do us a favor, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and drop a review on your favorite podcast platform. Every single one of those 5-star ratings and reviews helps others interested in Japan and this kind of content find the podcast. Or hey, maybe just let a friend know about us. Any and all support is incredibly appreciated. You can also share your Matsue travel plans or experience with us on social media. We're on Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, all that jazz. Just search for Krewe of Japan podcast to stay in the loop with future episodes, upcoming Japan Society events, and Japan-related content. That's KREWEOFJAPAN podcast. Or maybe you want to reach out directly. Send us an email at kreweofjapanpodcast@gmail.com. We'd really love to hear from you. But that's it for today. Until next time, see you later.
Looking to start your own podcast and don't know what platform to use? Tell me about it. When we started the Krewe of Japan podcast, we tried a bunch of the big name recording platforms, but always came back to the one we're still currently using to this day, Zencastr. Zencastr is now the all-in-one solution making podcasting easy. In addition to its high audio and video quality for podcast production, Zencastr provides a full suite of production tools to record, produce, and publish studio quality content from the comfort of your home. Just log in through your browser and start recording. It's that simple. For us, we simply send out links to our guests and they join the lobby. But before you know it, it's all done and you have your studio quality audio and up to 4K video right there ready for you, right when you finish. The best part is having their multi-layered backups to ensure that your recordings are in the highest quality, regardless of anyone's internet connection stability. With Zencastr's all-in-one podcasting platform, you can create your podcasts in one place and distribute to all the major destinations. It's really that easy. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code CREWOFJAPAN, KREWEOFJAPAN, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same easy experiences we do for all of our podcasting and content needs. It's your time to share your story.